Today on Switch to Linux, we want to talk about Firefox getting a new VPN to try out. And my big question is, can we trust Firefox with a VPN? Let's go ahead and talk about this. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. If you like this type of content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave us a like and a comment down below. And today we are going to be talking about Firefox's now second attempt into the VPN move. Now, they used to have a Mozilla VPN. Now they have a Firefox VPN. Now, this is being rolled out to a select number of apparently random users. And so if you happen to be one of those randomly selected users, you will get a pop-up notification offering you a chance to try out Firefox's new VPN. We'll get into the article here in just a moment, but I do want to remind you first and foremost, VPNs have been one of those garbage products which has been pushed and prodded to us for so long now by other YouTubers, by, in some cases, people in tech, and many other places. It's just random people that are telling us about VPNs. In fact, I did when I was visiting a friend of mine. He knows I'm in tech, and he's like, well, tell me about NordVPN. And, of course, there's a few potentially shady things with NordVPN, but nothing outright bad at this point in time. And I told him, Nord is not the best VPN. I'd recommend a different one. But given his use case, NordVPN might be better. He works at a big corporation, and his phone is on that corporation's Wi-Fi, and utilizing the VPN while he is at work is a good way to prevent his company from spying on him. That is a legitimate use of a VPN. Remember, though, a VPN does not hide your privacy, as people say. All these big YouTubers are telling about, get a VPN, you'll be protected on the internet. Protected from what? Certainly not the data brokers, because once you log into your account, and chances are you're logged into a bunch of accounts when you're on the internet, they know exactly who you are. IP addresses have not really been used to track people reliably in years. And all the VPN does, of course, other than changing your IP address, is filtering every bit of your data through that VPN company. So if you trust the VPN company, that's really good. If you trust the VPN more than you trust your ISP, well, you might be in good shape. Obviously, if you're at Starbucks or some other random place with public Wi-Fi, you definitely want a form of VPN. However, for your home-based internet, chances are most people do not need this, but it's been the thing that has been hoisted into our zeitgeist by so many of the fast-topping YouTubers out there, which are trying to simply sell it for an affiliate or a sponsorship deal. And that is the type of thing that I tend to push against. All that being said, of course, actually, one more thing being said. A VPN was originally created so you could access company resources when you were not at that company. I first used VPNs in the professional sense as a professor when I needed to utilize the VPN from home to access my files on the university servers. And that is really what VPN started from. It just so happens that they have an encrypted sublayer in there, and that is really why people would push them. It's really a byproduct of what the VPN is supposed to be for. With that being said, let's go ahead and have a look at the article from Windows Central. Firefox gets a new security feature that Edge has had for years. Think of how much better Edge must be. I haven't looked into Edge's VPN, but if it's pushing every bit of your data through Microsoft, that is not a security feature. What this is it is a feature built into Firefox that if you happen to be randomly selected for the trial, you will have the option, and it's going to route everything not through your whole computer, but just everything through that instance of the web browser will be routing through the VPN. Okay, so that's kind of what they're doing. It does not cost anything. They do not have anything about any constraints on it at this point in time. But the big point here is that right now it is a limited test apparently done by random. Now, my random guess here, they doesn't say in the article, is that most likely this is going to probably be offered to people utilizing a Mozilla account. So if you're not using a Mozilla account, probably you're not going to see it at all. If you are, you might see the pop-up to give this a try. And my big question is, can we trust Mozilla with this information? Because remember, by utilizing their VPN, all of your data is running through Mozilla's servers. That is the take-home message. You might think, well, they are a big privacy company, so they may not be doing anything about it. Well, hold that thought. We'll talk about that here. So it says here, by concealing your real IP as well as adding a layer of encryption or communications, basically your random deal. Stay tuned. Ben Shapiro will be back. Okay. But the VPN built into Firefox is invite only while being tested, not for everyone. So if you're the lucky user who is selected for testing, you'll see a prompt when you launch Firefox to see if you'd like to try the VPN. If you don't see the prompt, well, you're out of luck for now. I don't know. It might be a feature to not get that. I don't know. So this is their second time. They did try to use the Mozilla VPN a few years ago, and I believe that did not particularly enter very well, although I remember that being an extra add-on that cost you money. Now, it's possible that if this Mozilla VPN goes off, that who knows, they might come back and try and turn that model back on. Remember, one of the things they were trying to do is trying to find other streams of income. It does kind of make sense to have a VPN in here. The question is, can we trust Mozilla? So, of course, they do talk about the talking point here. Yes, free VPNs generally are a problem. There are some other ones. Proton Mail has some free VPN options, and that is one of the most highly recommended. In fact, the only two really highly recommended VPNs right now by people who actually study this stuff, neither one of them has an affiliate marketing. Okay, so you're not going to find it pushed or promoted by Ben Shapiro or Linus Tech Tips. Okay, those are Malvad VPN and Proton VPN. Neither one of them have affiliate deals that I know of. In fact, I believe Malvad takes strong stances against affiliate deals. But if you do legitimately need a VPN, I would highly recommend utilizing one of those two if you are not going to create and self-host your own VPN, which, by the way, will get you around all of those weird VPN blocker stuff, because they know who Proton VPN is. They don't know my random IP address on my server out of New Jersey. Just saying. Okay. All right. Whoever's managing the server can technically see at what everyone is doing and where their data is coming from, and you want to select your VPN provider carefully. That is really the ultimate point. So you might say, well, Mozilla, they're a privacy-focused company. I want to first and foremost, and for whatever reason, I didn't pull any articles out on this, but remember, first and foremost, Mozilla is pushing this selling data to advertisers in a anonymized way to better improve advertising on Firefox. Let's not forget that whole thing. In fact, I'm even blocking that out. I think it was the Firefox PPA. Remember, it was very closely related in sound to the Ubuntu's PPA, not related. But this was the, was it privacy protecting attribute, I believe they call it. And we talked about this. I have several videos on the channel about this. And this is where they wanted to collect a bunch of data as a means to find a better private way of sharing your data with advertisers. No, Mozilla, we're not interested in that kind of stuff. And the problem is if they can see more of your data, that's more of your data they can anonymize and sell to the advertisers under the false PPA option. Now, there was another issue that came up, and that was back in March of this year, and we talked about this one as well. They had an update in their data privacy, which basically said that anything you do on Mozilla could be used to sell to advertisers. They quickly came back about that. Oh, no, we didn't really mean to do that. But ultimately, the new term suggests Mozilla had the right to leverage user data in ways that would seriously damage its data privacy reputation. Mozilla was quick to update the terms of use with clearer wording, and Firefox VP Asia Varna was quoted as saying, quote, Mozilla doesn't sell data about you, in parentheses, in the way that most people think about selling data, end parentheses. And we don't buy data about you. We change our language because in some jurisdictions define sell more broadly than others would usually understand. Now, this was changed in coordination with that privacy protecting attribute, which would allow them to not necessarily sell, but share anonymized data. Because remember, anonymized data does not qualify as selling data about you. This is all just corporate doublespeak. Of course, this was when Mozilla backtracked against this back in March. They recently updated the terms of use, brewing controversy and concern among other users about its stance on data privacy and data sharing with third-party vendors. So last week, they were trapped between a rock and a hard place after making a controversial update to the terms of use. PC Gamer originally broke that, and in it, they basically said, yes, we can utilize data. Now, Mozilla says, well, that really what that meant is that, you have to type in stuff in that little search bar at the top, or, basic things like that. And, we have to use that data to go out into the search engine to do that kind of stuff. Well, that's what Mozilla says they meant, although this rolled out right about the same time they were talking about having this privacy-centric advertising network system. And so it was kind of suspicious timing. They did issue this particular statement, quote, "We've seen a little confusion about the language regarding licenses. We want to clear that up. We need a license to allow us to make some basic functionality possible. Without it, we couldn't use the information typed into Firefox. For example, it does not give us ownership of your data or a right to use it for anything other than what is described in the privacy notice." I will refer you to my prior videos where we go through that privacy notice, which says it's the same type of corporate doublespeak that you find in most any other companies here in America that basically says, yes, we can use it, but don't forget a privacy policy is, basically says you have to tell us what you're doing. A privacy policy does not mean you have to keep it from people. It just means you have to be transparent in what you're doing with it. And Firefox does have a better one than many other. I mean, I'd rather Firefox than Google, but at the same time, there are some serious concerns, particularly with that PPA that they were trying to roll out. Now, all this being said, I do still use Firefox because it's Firefox or Chromium. And yeah, Brave, yes, Brave. I do use Brave too, but Brave is Chromium. Okay, you can do Firefox, WaterFox, LibreWolf, Zen Browser. Those are all based on the Firefox engine. We have Firefox engine. We have Chromium engine. I don't like using Chromium browsers as much as possible. We'll have the new one out soon. Is it Lady Bird? I believe we will have that out soon. Now, there is, however, another concern. It's not just this. Don't forget that Mozilla started going against conservatives. Now, they're kind of trying to backpedal a little bit. They're trying to make sure this doesn't happen, but the internet is forever. This is News Target. I believe is probably a right-leaning organization. We will look at this article with that particular lens in scope. Remember, guys, I am actually a centrist. I know that there are some left-wing radical psychopaths in the Linux community that just think I'm this evil psychopathic right-wing Ben Shapiro worshiper or something, but the reality is I can't stand that moron. All right. I'm actually a centrist who leans right. But here is what they say: banning President Donald Trump on social media while silencing his supporters who dare to object is simply not enough to stop, quote, violence and hate, end quote. Like all that violence and hate we've seen on this No Kings protest, where people are actually calling out for actual political violence. It's kind of funny. Actually, not funny in a dark, sarcastic way, I should say, from spreading on the internet. According to Mozilla, they say, the company behind them, in an announcement, Mozilla expressed urgent plans to start filtering out disinformation on the browser level before it has a chance to show up on the internet search or the website. Now, remember, this article is in 2021, right at the peak of all of the banning. This is right around that evil January stuff, right after the most secure election in the world, which demonstrated that it probably wasn't. We were allowed to dispute every election up until that one. It was kind of funny. And of course, this is what they happen to say on X, or Twitter at the time, I think it was still called. "We saw the culmination of a 4-year disinformation campaign orchestrated by the president. We have to acknowledge how the internet was misused. We get it, and we have to change." Oh my Lord. It's like, and then there's a blog post. Oh, police don't want to tell you about that. That was kind of inconvenient, but the internet is forever. Had to go onto the Internet Archive. They deleted it, presumably somewhere in 2024, probably right about the time that the evil right-wing conspiracy nut job of spreading disinformation across the entire internet won again, and then every big tech company wanted to play nice with the new guy in charge. That's probably about the time they deleted it. But this is what the article said in January 8th, 2021, by this left-leaning hack right there. Hopefully he's still not there anymore. There is no question social media played a role in the siege and takeover of the U.S. Capitol. Oh, my Lord. Okay, yeah, a couple people did a couple things. You know, the funny thing, if you actually are a centrist and you look at people on both sides, what's really interesting is that the vast majority of people were there were FBI agents. That report literally just came out about a month ago. Don't be like, no, why don't you get on the internet, turn off that complete left-leaning echo chamber you like living in, and look it up a little bit. Official reports are actually out. It's kind of funny. You want to deny the fact that the Summer of Love that happened right before this literally burned down, caused billions of dollars in damage, and killed several people. The only people who died on January 6th was one person named Ashley Babbitt. And there was no investigation at all into that police. I mean, it was the one police shooting we couldn't talk about. It was kind of interesting. And no, Brian Sicknick did not die in these things, nor as a result of these things. Okay. We'll just say that. And then since there has been a significant focus on the deplatforming of President Donald Trump, by all means, the question of when to deplatform a head of state is a critical one among many must be addressed. When should platforms make these decisions? Is that decision-making power? Oh, the other thing that has just came out, by the way, is that the Biden administration was forcing people to deplatform people. It is probably basically is like, if they talk about this in any way contrary to our particular talking points, deplatform them entirely. That also is something that came out in the last month. And there's solid receipts. This isn't an anonymous source close to the circumstances said. We have the actual documents. We have the actual communications. We have the actual evidence for this. This is why YouTube right now is going back and reinstating several people who were banned from the platform for quote unquote election and quote unquote COVID misinformation. All right. This is undoing itself. This is all undoing itself. As reprehensible as the actions. Did you actually know what he tweeted? He said, peacefully and patriotically make your voices known and then go home. And then actually he said two. One of them was peacefully and patriotically protest. And then the second one he said is go home, be peaceable, do not cause a riot. Okay, and that was the tweet. They took it down. That's not verbatim. I forget exactly what the tweet was. But they literally banned that tweet so you couldn't show people what he actually said, and then banned him from that. And then the cascade, everybody banned the sitting president of the United States simultaneously. Okay, if there is, and they want to talk about no kings, that happened because the Biden administration said to. You want to talk no kings? It's that party. Okay. Kind of funny in a, again, dark and sarcastic kind of way. So the reprehensible actions of saying go home peaceably, the rampant use of the internet to foment violence and hate, reinforce white supremacy. It's all any more than personality. I can't even keep reading this. This is nonsense. This is an official Mozilla blog post. Well, before they took it down. Is this a company we can trust with a VPN that wants to filter every bit of our data through it? They have that. They're collecting our data. They're anonymizing it to sell to advertisers. This is a dangerous thing. And if Lady Bird were out and viable, I might actually ditch Firefox entirely. And I don't want to ditch Firefox entirely. I want them to persist, but I want them to remember they are a tech company building a browser. Get out of politics entirely, Mozilla. Focus on being private. What does privacy mean? It doesn't mean disclosing what you're doing with your data in a privacy policy. It does not mean collecting data and selling it anonymously to advertisers. It means producing a browser that collects no data. Period. You do that, you will do well in the browser wars. The reason Mozilla is losing so much user base is because they keep walking down this path of nonsense and people are utterly sick of it. So let me know your thoughts about all that. Do you trust Firefox with your VPN? Let me know that and other things related to this in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.